Good morning, everybody. It is totally cold out, but I'm okay. And it's rainy and sleety and snowy, so we're getting some weather pattern coming through. Very excited. Hopefully it's a lot of snow, but but yeah, I wanted to focus on this kombucha because there's somebody in my personal life that is taking kombucha, and I have to put the hammer down and say, no kombucha. And I'll tell you why. So I have done my research to talk about, oh, I've done my research about candida. And candida is basically yeast. Yeast is what's in your body. Okay? It is part of your body. Yes, it's a fungus, but it's there for a reason. And so when you and what does yeast feed on? What does it clean up? It cleans up sugar, extra sugar, and then heavy metals. And so if you were out in the wild and you didn't have any industry and you didn't have any, crazy processed food, you wouldn't have an overabundance of yeast because you'd be eating berries and maybe some animal meat and some plants and whatever's in your garden, and then you'd be fine. It's when somebody's eating inordinate amounts of sugar in the food supply, in their daily life, and then the heavy metals that are in the skies that you can't help. Heavy metals are also from exhaust, from mufflers, from cars, industry, also in the processed food supply. So you're getting heavy metals all the time, and there's no way you can really, control that. So these yeast, and then you're getting in your prescription drugs, okay? I mean, the heavy metals. So the yeast now is working overtime, and it's like a gremlin. It's cute in the beginning, like you guys are cute in the beginning, and then over time you get mutated, right? Well, that's because that yeast gets overfed and it turns into a gremlin, and it allows other gremlins to come into your body. That's called candida. Now, and then it's also called cancer. So there's actually several names for yeast that's overfed. Candiasis, cancer, mycoplasma, all this other stuff, right? Biofilm. And actually, mycoplasma really is a bunch of mucus that gets created because the body is working overtime. So, but anyways, so when you're overfeeding your yeast, it turns into a gremlin, it lowers your immune system, it allows parasites to take up residence in your body. So now you have the yeast that's overfed, turns into candida. Then you have a lowered immune system with then the parasites. Then you have all these viruses that are floating around from people, and when you go out to eat or when you just come into contact. And these viruses then attach themselves to these yeast. And that's when you have these different cancers and chronic illnesses and autoimmune disorders, because it's the protein docking. These little viruses and bacteria adhere and they dock with their little receptors to the yeast. And so that's why you have like Candida albicans. Albicans is based upon the reproductive system. That's one of the biggest infections is Candida albicans, because there's a lot of people that are having sex, okay, which means that they're passing all these viruses back and forth to each other, and it's usually right there through the reproductive area, right? That's usually how you have sex. So that's, candida with the viruses, right? So kombucha, now there's like, tea kombucha, and some of it's fizzy, and then there's fruit kombucha, but tea is an antibiotic. Tea is an inhibiting gene transcription type of plant. Because when you actually break down what tea is, it's a heavy metal, it's a negative element. So when you ferment tea, you're fermenting a negative element. And then when you have fruit kombucha, you're making your own kombucha with the sugar or fruit. Well, that fruit sugar is being now broken down, and it's not disappearing. People say, oh yeah, the yeast that eats up, whatever, eats up all the sugar, so there's no sugar in there. I'm sorry, but sugar just doesn't disappear. What yeast eats, it also shits out. No different than with my fermentation, okay? So even though you're creating probiotics out of that fermentation process with your kombucha, with that SCOBY, it's still going to eat the sugar and shit it out. So with my protocol, it's eating the cabbage with the salt, but it's also shitting it out. So you're actually getting a broken down version of that cabbage. It's broken down for you because of the lactobacillus. Okay? So the probiotics in the kombucha does eat that fruit and breaks it down, but sugar is still the byproduct. I mean, sugar is still the thing that it is going to be left in that kombucha. So those strains of probiotics are going to do nothing for you when you keep feeding the yeast. You're feeding the cancer and the candida. That's why the kombucha isn't doing anything for you. I'm not going to say who this is to, but it's to a very loved one that I really hope he gets. Okay, so that's why you're not feeling any different with the kombucha, because kombucha is the wrong probiotic. It's what you pair the probiotics with, and the carrier force and the what it's, and the transmission whatever force. Okay, if you're using fruit and fermented fruit, you're using tea like apple cider vinegars, and you're trying to make lactobacillus or even alcohol, those are the wrong probiotics, because there's right probiotics and there's wrong ones. And it has to do with what it's paired with and what is being used to ferment. Pink Himalayan salt, which has the energizing force, has elements, trace minerals, and then what's paired with is why my protocol is so powerful. Kombucha, it also destroys your teeth. When I drank like 2 kombuchas a day, my front tooth here, it kind of crumbled on the top. And I'm making a direct correlation because I was drinking 2 kombuchas a day thinking I was doing something. I was over at Giant Eagle buying like $20 a week on just drinks, thinking that I was going to be healed, from this. Oh no, it made things worse. Get off the kombucha. Let's say you're a roommate with somebody, and you're trying to be considerate, and you don't want to make the juice, okay? And there's some people that probably are not going to do the juice. I get it. Some people, just are not. And I know who's not, but I'd be surprised if the person does. Just take a bunch of sauerkraut. If you can't make my juice and you're with roommates or something else, or you're not ready and prepared for the healing process, and you haven't really discussed it with anybody like your caretakers or your doctor or whoever, then go get a bunch of sauerkraut from the store, okay? Maybe from a health food store. Make sure that it's with, the salt, which of course sauerkraut's with salt, and just eat a shiz ton of sauerkraut. For those who are very elderly, who doesn't have the support system to help you along with this process, you're with roommates who don't know who you are, okay? You don't want to scare them with your healing symptoms, especially if you don't understand the healing symptoms, okay? So if you don't understand the healing symptoms, you don't have my book, you don't have a support system, then go to the damn store and get a bunch of sauerkraut. That's the only thing I could tell you. But get off the kombucha. Just get off the kombucha. It's only going to accelerate the death process, because you're feeding the cancer, which is feeding your disease, which is why you're on prescription drugs to begin with, which is why life has been happening crazy to begin with, because your disease is causing mental issues, it's causing brain fog, and then you compound it with the kombucha. Okay? So really, this is for specific situations. I'm not going to tell everybody, go get sauerkraut. No, but there are specific instances. There are people in my life that are on their own to some extent. Good morning, Gary. That don't have my book, may not read it, may not understand all the healing stuff, because they do have a lot of issues. But if I could at least get them off the kombucha and just get some sauerkraut, that would be an excellent replacement, because not everybody has that support system to help them through this process. Not everybody has the comprehension level. Maybe they do. Maybe, I don't want to assume anything, but I don't want to assume that they do. So I'm not going to say, well, you got to make the juice and that's it. No. If you don't have those things in place, a support system, you have my book or anything else, then go buy a bunch of sauerkraut. It's not going to hurt you. Or, they have these things called gut shots. If you really truly want to, no, I'm not recommending this for anybody that has the capacity to understand my information. But if you are elderly, you do have some issues going on, and the only thing you can do is really buy your food. You really can't make, I mean, you could make this, but you could be potentially, offending your roommates because this stuff doesn't smell good, okay? And I wouldn't want anybody to get kicked out of their roommate situation because and they and it's very new because they're making some kind of fermented drink that smells horrific and it's going to offend their parasites. So you got to kind of play that really close to the vest. So that is my recommendation for someone in that situation. But for the rest of you who I see you coming through, yeah, don't do the sauerkraut. I mean, yeah, you can do it as a side dish, I guess. But as far as the drink, do make the recipe. Make the recipe, do it, and drink it. I'm a very blunt person, and I've been more blunt now than I mean, I guess I've always been a bit blunt, but lately I've been way honest. I haven't been tolerating a lot, which is good. And I get in my moods, so I don't want anybody to take offense with my moods. I'm going to say exactly what I feel and where I'm coming from. Okay. So, you know, uh, if you truly believe in what I'm doing, then it doesn't matter. That's true, Gary Stokes. Parasites are easily offended. I would have to agree with that. Um, I want you guys to build up your thick skin because my attitude sometimes can be a bitch. And it just depends, because like, look, I'm doing my life, I'm thinking about something, and I'm going on my pay or on my phone, right? Just so you kind of see the day in the life of Jillian, and I'm sitting there on my couch or here, whatever, and then someone asks this crazy question. I'm just like, now I could wait for Lillian to answer it, which sometimes I should probably. If I'm in a bitchy mood, I really shouldn't be answering questions, but sometimes I just can't ignore questions. So, if I answer you and it comes out bitchy, it's because I know, Gray. It's because I really care, but I'm in a bitchy mood, so you're gonna get it in a bitchy way, but you're still gonna get the question answered. So just see past my attitude, because my attitude sometimes can be really piss poor, but I will still answer your question. So pretend that my attitude doesn't even come into the equation and just look at the information. You know, this last year, I mean, when we had that 60,000 person group, it was very traumatizing to a lot of people because people are going into this group, whether it's secret or public or closed, right? There isn't any difference when it comes to Facebook. There's no way you can vet out anybody 100% to see if they have good intentions. So you base upon, you letting them in the group based upon whatever parameters they meet. So we had 60,000 plus. If we kept going, it would probably be over 100 or 200,000. But it was insane trying to manage it. I had like eight or nine moderators that were trying to manage it, and their whole life was based around that group. I mean, like seriously. And so when we transferred everything over to the website, it was a major transition. I had to do a lot of getting people ready for this transition and then charging for the website. That was another hurdle I had to go through. But my book wasn't out yet, and what my whole point was for that group was to sell my book through the group, have the group be a support. But when you have people on Facebook with troll profiles or just trolls in general, it made these people's lives miserable. It really did. I mean, not only, I endured, of course, a lot of attacks, but a lot of you who didn't even deserve the attacks. You're just trying to find out. You're just trying to share. So people are sharing, giving this to their kids or their dogs, and somebody, and you don't know who it is. Somebody could say, oh yeah, I'm supporting you in your face. And then in the background, they're screenshotting everything that you're doing and poking fun at people in other groups. That's why I don't have a Facebook group, because do you want to be a subject of somebody else's ridicule? That's the whole point of why I transferred everything from Facebook, which is not safe, to a very anonymous site that you can't even post pictures really. I think Lillian's the only one that can post pictures. I haven't figured out how to do it. But hey, if you need me to give you a picture of my ferments, and I've done that where I said, hey, everybody post your ferments, Go to my my uploaded photos, okay? Because I post my ferments. And then if, so yeah, I mean, and I do explain about mold and yeast and everything in my book. So yeah, I mean, I found a way to use Facebook when I need to. If there are certain things that can't really be done in the website, then I'll use Facebook as a backup. Okay? And that's how I straddle the two. So I give people the opportunity to be anonymous on my website. So that way they don't have to endure crazy, stupid people who are sending them private messages or screenshotting, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, not all the time am I going to be like, ooh, because, I get a lot of the same questions. So that's why, Lillian's really in charge of the website because she doesn't mind. Lillian is so diplomatic. I don't know where she gets her patience, but Lillian has been a breath of fresh air for me. And I adore the hell out of her. She's been around since the beginning. She saw me through all of the different moderators that I went through. She saw me through, my book publishing, my first book publisher, court case, the different moderators that came and went, when everything started going insane as far as, because that's when I started talking about the babies and the whole thing with the breast milk and all these baby mamas were going freaking insane. Tell you what, man. So Lillian, has been a breath of fresh air. So I will, support Lillian till for forever, and she will support me forever. So, and then, Kevin and Bridget, those two have definitely stuck around and they've been a huge force. So yeah, so I have certain people in my life that I do turn to when I need to work through something. And so I definitely have a great support system. And of course, then all of you guys. I mean, my God, if I really need to go work through something, I'll work through it publicly and then you all can, give your support or not. And that's how I kind of do it. So, but anyways, yeah, so the whole thing with kombucha, and I see people making kombucha, but what people are addicted to is they're addicted to the sugar. Okay, they love the sugar. And we all know tea is antibiotics, so why would the hell would you take fermented tea? Okay, so yeah, kombucha is another baby of the holistic industry where they say, oh yeah, you know, um, this is probiotics, but remember, not all probiotics are created equal. Alcohol is a probiotic. Are you going to be drinking tequila because it's a probiotic? No. I mean, people have to start thinking a little bit, but then that's okay. Not everybody knows. You get all this misinformation, and then people think, oh, yeah, the lactobacillus eats up all the sugar, and the sugar just disappears. No, sugar does not disappear. What is it? Garbage in, garbage out. And since sugar is a negative element, now you have to have a certain amount of sugar in your body, and your system keeps that balance. But you can't turn a negative into a positive. Too much sugar, is horrible. But that's why, you have the salt and the water as a balancing force against the sugar. And you need some sugar in your body. And then you have your hormones to keep all that balance. Then you have the nutrients to make sure that all your hormones get kept in balance. I mean, there's a lot of balls in the air when you deal with the human body. It's not just one thing. Oh yeah, I'm magnesium deficient, so I'm going to go take a bunch of magnesium. So probiotic means it hatches pairs. No, probiotic is a bacteria that has a specific intention, and it's lactobacillus, and it is cancer candida's mortal enemy. So probiotics keeps your yeast at bay. It doesn't eradicate yeast, but it keeps the yeast at bay. Okay, so you have the human body, which has a specific function. Everything has a place and a purpose. So yeast has a purpose. All of your hormones have a purpose. Your systems have a purpose. Your organs have a purpose, right? And then you're taking in nutrients. So nutrients then create that balance. Probiotics in alcohol is bad because alcohol has not only bad yeast, it has mycotoxins, and sugar is also another, component of it. People say, oh yeah, you should take then, what is it, vodka? But no, vodka has mycotoxins, their grain alcohol, because grains is still sugar. All alcohol is bad. Just alcohol in general is bad. That's what I covered the other day, Gary, is about prohibition. Because they saw the effects of alcohols on families and bodies, cirrhosis of the liver, and they tried to outlaw it. And they realized that the parasites and the mutated people weren't going to stand for it, and then people started getting creative. Because look at all these artists out there that are, you know, full of angst. Their best art comes from anxiety. I'm an artist, but haven't done art because I haven't been like anxiety ridden, right? But I used to do a lot of painting and stuff, like with acrylics, and I used to draw really, you know, abstract type of stuff and then fill it in with acrylic on a canvas. And that was when I was full of angst, you know? And so artists out there, mutated people, get creative. That's why prohibition wasn't able to withstand itself. You know why? Because you had Al Capone and you had all these mutated, angsty people getting all creative. So wait till you're not, you know, angsty anymore, you artists. Not all artists want to stop being depressed because their best art comes from their depression. And then they make a lot of money when they're dead. So, you know, I mean, art is great when it is being filtered through a very healthy body, but then will you get very creative people from very healthy people? I don't know. You guys tell me. I haven't been doing my art, so probably not. But then I create something. I mean, I guess I'm creating this protocol, which is, I guess, artistic, right? Would this be considered art? Would this be considered art? I don't know. Not in the sense of the Museum of Modern Art, you know, not in the sense of all these different museums. So, and I haven't been to a museum in a while. And I enjoy a good, you know, I enjoy good art. I used to go to the MoMA over there in San Francisco all the time. And I used to make my own art. But lately, no, I have not really had the desire to sit and draw. So my artisticness is coming out of in manifesting in development of myself and then helping all of you guys get to the next level. Some of you are very, very, you know, are just starting, and it's going to be difficult to get over the first hump, but you will. So anyways, so there's that. That was for a very special somebody, this kombucha transmission. And, you know, yeah. No, I was going to say something. Yeah, stop doing parasite cleanses, Gary. No more parasite cleanses. Those are inhibiting gene transcription protocols, because not only are you killing the parasites, but you're also killing yourself. Okay, because when you're doing a parasite cleanse, you're taking negative elements that may not totally, completely kill you off right off the bat because you still got some battery life, but you're destroying your immune system, so it kills you slowly. Parasite cleanses kill people slowly, like turpentine, like bentonite clay, like diatomaceous earth, all of those that are used to control pestilence. Well, it also destroys your insides. Now, you're not going to like die tomorrow unless you're like in hospice and you're taking in massive amounts of parasite cleanses, because when you're taking something antibiotic, it's anti-life. And parasite cleanses are antibiotic. You can never call Jilly Juice a parasite cleanse, because then because it's more than just a cleanse. It's actually feeding your body, and then your body does the work to get rid of, you know, okay, it gets rid of all the foreign objects. So the parasites, the fungus, any other foreign object that doesn't belong, heavy metals. People that do heavy metal detoxes are poisoning themselves. You know what they're using for heavy metal detoxes? Mercury. People are using heavy metal detoxes. They're using mercury. They're using heavy metals to detox them. So that's kind of the irony of the industry, is that they're poisoning your body to get rid of the poison in your body. Because when I saw this one lady who's saying, "Oh yeah, I promote zeolite to get rid of the heavy metals," and it's all it is. It's like mercury and arsenic. What the hell? Then you have all these, what is it, anti-vax people who are like, oh, the thimerosal, and they're taking freaking diatomaceous earth, which is basically aluminum silica. Okay, so so aluminum is a heavy metal. That's right. That's what's in zeolite is aluminum. Okay, so you have all these anti-vax people. They're like, oh, I'm against the vaccines because of all the thimerosal, and they're taking freaking aluminum all the time in their detoxes, in all their little cleanses and everything that they're doing. And you're just like, dude, double speak much? But they don't see. Here's the thing: the holistic people don't look beyond the headlines. They don't look at the chemical composition. Taking diatomaceous earth is aluminum silicate. When you actually look at the chemical composition of all these detoxes, it's going to blow your mind. But people are not learning, or people are not being trained how to peel back the layers of programming. So they're totally in this 1 or 2 minute soundbite, only reading headlines. That's it. They don't look beyond the headlines. And then you try to tell them, and they're like, screw you. They're like, F you. Okay, fine. When your back's against the wall, and hopefully you're not in hospice, because that's a harder hole to climb out of. So anyways, I'm going to go because my husband's going to be up right now, and I'm going to go hang out with him. But I just wanted to do this video for my special somebody, and hopefully you will take heed, and maybe not. I'm not holding out anything, but I'm hoping that maybe he might change a little bit, prolong his life, keep him around for a while. And yeah, okay. All right. Love you guys all. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later.